You are 3 years old. You wake up in the dark between bodies. Your mother's on one side, your aunt is on the other. There is breath everywhere. The fire from last night is still warm. Someone you don't know who has their hand resting on your back. You are not afraid. You sit up. The smell of milk and wood smoke. An old woman is grinding seeds against a flat stone outside. A boy 4 years older than you is already gone with the men. A baby starts crying somewhere across the camp, and a different woman, not its mother, picks it up and feeds it without thinking. 3 girls are running between the huts. You join them. By the time the sun is high, you have been held by 4 different adults. None of them are your parents. All of them know your name. This is the beginning of how you grow up. Today you wake up in a crib in a quiet room. You cry. The door is closed. There's a small machine on the wall that lets your mother hear you breathing. She is in the next room alone, looking at her phone. She's been awake since 4. She has not spoken to another adult in 17 hours. When she comes in, she is the only person you will see today, until your father gets home at 6. She does not know any of your friends' parents. Her own mother lives 1,000 miles away. The neighbors do not know your name. The woman next door has a baby of her own and does not have the energy to learn yours. By the time the sun is high, you have been held by one person. This is what we now call parenting. Almost everyone you know is doing it. In the cave, you're not raised by 2 parents. You're raised by 50. Your mother is one of them. Your father is one of them. But every aunt, every grandmother, every older cousin, every old man who can no longer hunt, every single adult in the band has, at some point in your life, fed you, held you, told you a story, or pulled you back from a fire. The anthropologist Sarah Hrdy spent decades studying this. Her conclusion was simple. Humans did not evolve to be raised by their biological mothers alone. We evolved to be passed hand to hand between many adults. She called the system allomothering. Without it, our ancestors could not have raised the next generation. The babies were too dependent. The mothers were too tired. The math did not work alone. None of this means the cave was easy. Many children still died young. Cold, hunger, infection, the wrong berry, the wrong winter. The world was sharp. But the loneliness modern parents carry, that part was never in the design. Today, your 6-month-old is dropped off at a building you toured for 40 minutes. You don't know any of the adults inside. They are not related to you. They are paid by the hour. There are 7 other babies in the room, and one of them has been crying since you walked in. You drive away. You cry in the car for the 2nd time this week. You search "Is daycare bad for babies?" and read for an hour. The articles disagree. Nobody disagrees about how the morning felt. In the cave, a baby is never put down to sleep alone. The baby sleeps on a body. Always. The mother's body. The grandmother's body. The aunt's body. The chest of an older sister. When the mother needs to walk, she ties the baby to her hip with a strip of leather and keeps walking. The baby does not cry because the baby is never separated from a heartbeat. Among the Coontz Bushmen, anthropologist Melvin Konner measured how often a mother responds to her infant's distress. The answer was, within 10 seconds, more than 90% of the time. The baby is rarely allowed to escalate to a real cry. Most modern parenting books would call this spoiling. The data calls it the human default. A Hadza baby in northern Tanzania nurses on demand for the first 3 to 4 years of life. Not on a schedule, on demand, from the mother, sometimes from an aunt, sometimes from a grandmother who is no longer fertile but whose body still remembers. Today, your maternity leave is 6 weeks. After that, the rhythm breaks. By month 9, your baby has spent more hours looking at a daycare ceiling than at your face. This isn't anybody's fault. It is just the box we have built. In the cave, no child is ever raised in a small room. The children are raised by the band. By 11 a.m., by the time you are 4, you have already learned the names of every plant, every track, every elder, every rule. Not because anyone has taught you. Because you have been inside the conversation all day, every day since the day you were born. You learn the way a fish learns water. Children in hunter-gatherer bands are not corrected. They are not punished. The anthropologist John Liedloff, who lived for 2.5 years among the Yequana people in the Venezuelan Amazon, wrote that she never once saw an adult yell at a child, and never once saw a child throw a tantrum. She concluded the 2 facts were related. The children misbehaved less because they had nothing to fight for. They were already inside the circle. Today, you spend most of your evening trying to convince a 4-year-old to sit down. You bargain, you threaten, you apologize, you bargain again. By the time he's asleep, you have used a vocabulary you did not even know you had. In the cave, when a mother feels herself breaking, she hands the baby to someone else. She walks down to the river. She sits with 2 other women her age. Nobody talks for 10 minutes. Then they all start talking at once. By the time she walks back, the baby has been fed twice and is asleep in her sister-in-law's lap. Postpartum depression is far rarer in communal societies, not because the women are stronger than, because they are never alone. Today, 1 in 7 new American mothers is diagnosed with postpartum depression. The real number is almost certainly higher. Researchers had to invent a new clinical term, parental burnout, to describe the kind of exhaustion that has only really existed since we started doing this with 2 adults instead of 50. It isn't normal. It is just modern. The historian Stephanie Coontz, who has spent decades studying the history of family life, puts it bluntly. The model we use today, 2 parents in 1 house doing it almost entirely alone, has only existed in this form for about 150 years. For the other 200,000 years, we did it the old way. We didn't invent parenting. We isolated it. We took something that used to involve 50 people and we shrank it down to 2. We took something that lasted all day with many hands, and we squeezed it into a few exhausted hours after work. We took a child who was supposed to be passed between bodies, and we put him in a room by himself and called it sleep training. Tonight, somewhere, a 3-year-old is falling asleep on the lap of an aunt who is not his mother. His real mother is by the fire laughing. His grandmother is humming. There are 47 other adults around him, and he has never once felt alone. What did he have that we lost on the way to the nursery?